order to protect citizens from criminals and terrorists, they say. In a statement, Senator Feinstein saying we need strong encryption to protect personal data, but we also need to know when terrorists are plotting to kill Americans. The senators are now soliciting input from the public before formally introducing the bill, as both the government and the private sector grapple with the fallout from that debate and adapt to a new normal of tighter encryption. I am joined now by Debevoise and Plimpton partner Luke Dembosky, formerly Deputy Assistant Attorney General for National Security.
/ Democrat.
So much for joining us. Obviously, it's been very exciting and dramatic times in the world of cyber law. What is your reaction to this encryption bill? Should companies really be required to fill all data requests by court orders?
Well, first, Emily, thanks for having me. And obviously, it's a very emotional debate. I haven't reviewed the proposal yet, but I understand that many industry groups have already come out squarely against it. And so it's going to be essential that any kind of legislation have broad industry support in order to have a bipartisan bill that has any chance of passing in the end. So we'll see how it turns out.
So what is a realistic and productive way for tech companies to work with the government?
Well, I think many have been trying to work with the government, and I think the answer is to find a balance between privacy and security, and it's not something I think that is completely out of reach. Whether this is the right approach remains to be seen.
Now, in June 2014, Apple released iOS 8 and turned on basically encryption, making things a lot more difficult for law enforcement. When you were at the DOJ, what was the DOJ's reaction to that?
Well, I was close to these cases, and so I don't want to talk about any one particular case, but it's very difficult as a general matter to solve cyber cases. The evidence is very fast moving, it's very fleeting, anonymity is very easy to have on the internet, and so it was yet another challenge in the ability to make the cases, but that doesn't mean they can't be made.
So you dealt with fallout from data breaches from Target to Sony to Anthem. It's interesting when you look at the financial performance of these companies, it hasn't actually changed. What's actually been the real cost of these data breaches?
Well, I think we are moving out of what I call the shock and awe phase of this, where a major data breach is a surprise to anyone. It seems like there's one in the news every week, if not every day. And I think we're moving squarely into the liability phase. And so we're starting to see privacy lawsuits. We've seen shareholder suits against companies. We've seen regulators jump in and bring pretty heavy fines. And I think it's only going to increase. And so what I think is important to know is that companies can prepare for these things and lower their risks up front.
You were very involved in negotiations with the Chinese government over these issues. What about China's pledge to stop hacking U.S. companies? Do you believe that China has followed through on that?
Well, I should say at first that I was very excited that Presidents Obama and Xi were able to strike the agreement. I was part of the negotiations, and I think it was a huge breakthrough for the benefit of industry, for these two governments, for the first time ever to say we agree that nation-state hackers should not be used to steal economic advantage, to steal trade secrets from private companies. And so it's a huge step in the right direction. I think it remains to be seen how it will play out, but it's already, I think, brought a lot of the rest of the world closer together on this important issue.
But we don't know yet if it's actually stopped. Like, are they standing by what they agreed to?
Well, I think it's very early to tell, but I think it's very hopeful that China would take this forward-leaning, positive stance. I think it's a very constructive move, especially as China moves from a manufacturing economy more to an innovation economy. Intellectual property is going to be more important for China to protect as well.
What other nation states are you worried about?
Well, I think every cyber crime in particular is prevalent in many, many countries. It used to be dominant in Eastern Europe. The Russians were particularly strong in the cybercrime area, groups there, but it's gone way beyond that now, where we see groups in the United States, parts of Africa, the Middle East, and certainly Asia now, all participating in very sophisticated cyber crimes.
What are companies telling you? I mean, are they being attacked by nation states? What are they seeing?
Well, they're certainly being attacked. They may not know whether it's a cyber criminal or a nation state, I think many companies are unsure what to do. They're pouring, some of them, a lot of money at this issue, when I think with some proper planning and a targeted advice up front, they can actually manage and reduce their risk. And I think that's the positive thing, is that lessons have been learned that we can apply going forward to manage risk.
What's your take on the Panama Papers and this mega leak?
I think it shows what is a trend that many of us that have been in the cybersecurity area for a while already know, which is that law firms, perhaps hedge funds, others that are providing services to clients where they hold valuable client data are increasingly targets. And so law firms and others can't assume that just because they're helping a client that they aren't also a target.
All right. Luke Domboski, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, partner at Debevoise Plimpton. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For joining us. Fascinating and very difficult work.
Thank you.
Well, BT is going on the offensive to tackle cybercrime. The UK telecom giant is recruiting 900 people to work in threat intelligence, risk management, and related support service roles. As part of the hiring process,
So yeah, this should be a pretty interesting year with all this shit going down.
Hackathon-style war game competitions. The company said the push comes after a number of high-profile data breaches prompted a surge of interest from consumers and IT departments.
Shut up.
Coming up, cancer research is set to